The night Sheree finally spoke her truth. The world stopped pretending there were no cameras, no producers, no scripts to hide behind, just a woman standing in her power after years of being edited, cut and packaged for entertainment. This was the raw, unfiltered version of her story, and every word hit like lightning. For once, she wasn't trying to win sympathy. She was taking back her narrative from a man who tried to silence her and a system that profited off her pain. She didn't cry, she didn't beg. She spoke with the calm of someone who had already survived the storm. The calm that comes when you've lost everything and still found peace. Martell watched from a distance, trapped in the noise of his own making posting. Interviews dropping hints, trying to stay relevant, but the world had already chosen its side. Melody's silence became louder than his excuses. Her glow became proof that peace is louder than chaos. She was no longer a cast member. She was a movement. Her story wasn't about heartbreak anymore, it was about evolution. And that night, everyone watching understood one thing. She wasn't walking away broken, she was walking away free. And that freedom was her final victory. When Sheree looked in the mirror that night, she did not see the same woman. The world had been watching for years. She saw someone who had been pushed to her breaking point and finally decided to stop pretending. The quiet reflection staring back at her carried the weight of every headline, every betrayal, every fake smile she had been forced to wear for the sake of keeping a perfect image alive. The cameras had always captured the moments people wanted to talk about, but they never showed the nights she spent, alone trying to convince herself she could still fix something that was already dead. The marriage that once looked like a dream partnership had slowly turned into a battlefield built on lies, ego, and manipulation. She had been loyal to a fault, forgiving things no woman should ever have to tolerate, all because she believed in the image of love they had sold to the audience. But love without respect is a slow poison, and it had taken years for her to realize that she was dying in silence, pretending to be happy when her soul was tired. She had built Martell up, supported him through every failure, stood by him when the world mocked him, and he repaid her by turning her into his storyline, his shield, his mirror whenever the world criticized. Him, she became the one to blame when she finally decided to stop carrying his weight. People called her bitter. They said she changed. But what they could not see was that change was her only way to survive. She had reached a point where peace was worth more than public approval. She had given so much of herself to the image of their marriage that she forgot what it meant to just be Melody again when she finally walked away. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a scene for the cameras. It was quiet, powerful, and final. She blocked the noise, stopped explaining herself, and let silence do what words never could. It was in that silence that she began to rebuild piece by piece. She started writing again, recording music that came from the pain she had tried so hard to hide. She poured her truth into melodies that didn't need anyone's permission to exist. She spent long nights planning her next move, mapping out how to turn every scar into something meaningful. She didn't need revenge. She needed purpose. The same people who once watched her for the drama began to see something else. They saw strength. They saw transformation. She was no longer a victim of a story written by someone else. She was the author now. Her children became. Her focus, her peace became her priority. And for the first time in years, she started to breathe without fear of judgment. Martell, meanwhile, was unraveling. He could not accept that she had detached from his chaos. He needed her pain to survive on, because her peace made him irrelevant. He tried to rewrite the past with interviews and posts, desperate to control a narrative that no longer belonged to him. But every time he spoke, the world remembered the truth, and every time she stayed silent, her strength became more undeniable. Melody was learning that you do not have to fight every battle. Sometimes you win just by walking away. She was finally learning that healing is not about proving anything. It is about protecting your peace. The nights grew quieter. The tears slowed. The noise faded, and in that stillness, she found something more powerful than love. She found herself again as the weeks turned into months. Melody began to see the power of her silence in ways she never imagined. The same network that once thrived on her heartbreak tried to draw her back in with promises of new storylines and dramatic confrontations, but she had learned her lesson. Pain might make good television, but it destroys the person living through it. She had no interest in being anyone's entertainment anymore, while the world waited for her next reaction. She was quietly building something real. She invested her time in her music. her children, and her new business ventures. She surrounded herself with people who spoke life into her instead of feeding on her pain. And the more she poured into herself, the more the world started to notice. She became the definition of soft power. Calm yet unshakable, steady yet unstoppable. Her glow came, not from revenge, but from release. She no longer wanted to prove Martell wrong. She wanted to prove herself right, and that was the shift that changed everything. Meanwhile, Martell was falling apart in public. Every interview, every attempt to control. The story only made him look smaller. He had become a man trapped in his own echo chamber, obsessed with what the internet thought of him. Melody, on the other hand, had already moved past that stage. She wasn't scrolling through comments, she wasn't chasing validation. She had found peace in the silence, and that silence was her armor. People started rooting for her, not because she was perfect, but because she was real. The more Martell talked, the more the world saw him for who he was, and more Melody rose. The less his words mattered. She had finally broken free from the loop of pain and reaction. The show could no longer define her. The rumors could no longer break her. She was creating her own story this time, without scripts, without cameras, and without permission. Melody Sheree had become something far more powerful than a reality star. She had become an example of what it means to survive with grace. As Melody stepped into this new chapter of her life, she realized that her story had evolved beyond survival. It had become about legacy. She was no longer the woman picking up pieces. She was the woman building empires from the rubble. Every lesson, every heartbreak, every public embarrassment had become fuel for her growth, and people could see the change. It wasn't just in the way she spoke, it was in the way she carried herself. Her voice was softer, but her presence stronger. Her smile wasn't about pretending anymore, it was about peace, the kind that comes when you stop asking why and start thanking life for showing you who you really are. She began releasing new music that reflected her truth. Every lyric sounded like a confession. Every note carried the strength of a woman who had faced the fire and learned to dance in it. Her audience connected with her in a way they never had before, because this time it wasn't about drama, it was about evolution. Her business ventures started expanding too. She began working with brands that aligned with her message of strength and self-love. Women all over the country started reaching out saying, her story helped them find courage to walk away from what no longer served them. Melody had unknowingly become a movement, a living example that healing and success can coexist. While Martell kept chasing headlines, she kept chasing purpose, and the difference showed the chaos that once surrounded her now belonged to someone else. The peace she fought for had become her superpower, and every step she took forward made the noise behind her fade a little more. She no longer needed to defend herself to people who were committed to misunderstanding her. She understood that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the choice to let your actions speak louder than gossip, and her actions were speaking volumes the world had seen her break. Now they were witnessing her rise, and this rise was not built on anger. It was built on alignment. By the time her story reached full circle, Melody didn't need applause. She didn't need closure, she had both already inside her. She had turned her pain into power, her name into a brand, and her peace into a legacy that no one could take away. If Melody Sheree's story moved you, don't just scroll past it. Stories like hers remind us that real power doesn't come from revenge or validation. It comes from peace, purpose, and the courage to start over when everyone's watching. Melody turned her pain into something greater than sympathy. She turned it into strength. And that's the kind of energy we celebrate here on Echo Spill. So if you believe in growth, healing, and taking your power back no matter who tried to break you, make sure you like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Echo Spill for more raw, real, and fearless stories. Because on this channel, the truth doesn't just trend, it's trend.